Logo, Starkloff Disability Institute, the Workforce Workplace Disability Advisor.
I'm Gina Hilberry, and I do a lot of things.
Max J. Starkloff Lifetime Achievement Award honoree.
I'm an architect, an accessibility consultant, inclusive design consultant. Having become an architect, I had always had an interest in the impact of environments on us as human beings, and from there it really took a fairly natural path.
She works on blueprints.
Universal design is a concept that states as its primary criteria that the object or element be as accessible as possible to all of us, no matter what our abilities are. It encompasses not just officially recognized disabilities, but all of our human variations, and recognizes that humans come in all forms, sizes, shapes, cultures, ages, genders, etc., and that we should be designing to enable all of us to the maximum extent possible.
Valerie Fletcher.
Gina has an extraordinary depth of expertise in the baseline of accessibility. You know, how the standards and the codes are created. I mean, she served on everything. She has been at the table as things were developed. But way beyond that, she's one of the handful of people in the country who understands deeply the relationship between accessibility and inclusive design, and is passionate about going beyond compliance.
I was involved in talking to the developers of the idea of rehabbing the arch, and in the course of that conversation I kept talking about accessibility, and so they eventually decided to hire an AIA consultant, Gina.
David Newberger, Commissioner on the Disabled.
We also put together a group of people with a variety of disabilities. What she was able to do was to pinpoint getting that group to answer the important questions. She didn't try to judge the answers. That she would say, as far as I know, this is the design that we want. Now, what works best for people with disabilities? Okay, blind person, tell me. Okay, deaf person, tell me, and so forth.
Julie Allen, Trial Attorney, Department of Justice.
I find her incredible attention to detail particularly exemplary, reviewing and commenting on thousands of individual violations to ensure that inaccessible features are made accessible is time-consuming and very tedious work. Gina does that every single day.
Brian Chow, CFO, Starkloff Disability Institute.
I've lived in St. Louis my whole life, and about 8 years ago, my friend Gabe, who had a form of muscular dystrophy like myself, and I decided that it was time for us to find a place of our own to live, but finding an accessible home in St. Louis that met our needs was not an easy task. Gina really knew all the steps that we needed to complete in order to make this a successful project, whether that was putting the plans onto paper, communicating it with the various teams involved, the contractors, the plumbers, the city permitting teams. There are certainly items when it comes to accessibility that people who aren't familiar with it don't necessarily understand off the bat. And Gina just has this marvelous way to be able to communicate that across the spectrum of all the different parties involved.
It isn't theoretical to her. She makes it work as a practitioner. She really understands the kind of collaborative effort of design with an individual client. But even in her public work, she never let go of her conviction that the only way to do that well is to be constantly in communication with a diversity of anticipated users of that space who have lived experience of a physical, sensory, or brain-based limitation. And she has deep respect that you don't intuit the lives of others without engaging them in the process.
Images from Soldiers Memorial and the Arch.
I suddenly realized that there was a common thread to every single one of the projects. And that common thread was the presence of a committee of people with disabilities participating in the design process. The Arch, the stadium, Soldiers Memorial have all gained an immeasurable amount of richness from that participation.
A groundbreaking ceremony.
Gina is truly an expert when it comes to universal design and architecture, and she can handle everything from major civic projects to creating a very accessible home for first-time homeowners. Unfortunately, Gabe passed away several weeks before we were able to move into our home. But I know that the time that we spent working with Gina to make this our future home was some of the most enjoyable time that he spent. Gabe would be so pleased with how it turned out and appreciative of how much Gina did to help make this our home.
Photos of Gabe and Brian.
Gina is not a showman. What Gina's work is substantive, and those are the true leaders that you need. She thinks deeply and ponders and is just overall looking at humanity as the best anybody can.
Gina is as expert as anyone in this nation around issues of design as a silver white. She has spent so much of her career as an architect invested in getting that right, that our standards and codes deserve to be as good as they can be and is accurate in terms of representing what people need.
The Gateway Arch under a blue sky.
Gina has been unwavering in her commitment to the Fair Housing Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and her desire to ensure equal opportunities to everyone, regardless of their abilities. Personally, I cannot think of anyone else I would consider more deserving of this award.
I have a message to Gina. The first and most important is don't retire before I do. And the second is allow me to be as helpful as I can to you as you have been to me, because I'm really very grateful.
Thank you, Gina, for creating a home that I love still to this day, and congratulations on your receiving the Max Starkloff Lifetime Achievement Award.
Congratulations, Gina, 2023 Max J. Starkloff Lifetime Achievement Award honoree.